Okay, so where we left off was in solar analysis. So you can see, you can, as I was saying, you can click between the three after you run the analysis. But there's a certain point to once you start doing some things, um, that option of clicking between them will eventually go away. And maybe when I think it maybe when I switch views. So let's see. I think it's because when I renamed it in the last video, that's what did it. So you can see now. So see, I did this 3D view, and I renamed it so it's a solar analysis. So now if I click on this, the default 3D view, it'll create a new default one. Here. Let me just close out this for a second. And then again, if I click on this view, I can call it construction documents. So it ends up being in the same part of the tree. Here. So now you can see that this is a new view. And again, the kind of file, CAD file was there, so I turned that off, and then I can go to shading. But now this is a separate view, so that solar analysis still has the solar analysis that I ran, and now this is a new view, so I can change this. I can do a new solar analysis maybe with a different type of setting. This one was cumulative. So maybe I want to do, an average, one for average or one for, if I go back to solar, maybe I want to do it for a specific day, or I want to do, maybe I want to do one for actual, solar energy, for the photovoltaics faults. BTUs, solar energy, yes, so PV. Then let's run this one. See what this gives you back. Let's actually run it back this. So that's ran. Let's see if I can find the legend. There it is. So you can bring this over. So now you can see the type of for the solar for photovoltaics. Now obviously this number is huge because this is under cumulative for a year. So in a year, kilowatt hours per year. This is how much you can save in energy. Build an energy offset. For panel areas. I can switch this over to payback period. If you were using basically, if you were to put solar panels on the roof, obviously you have a lower payback period. 10 years, and you get your money back for replacing them. And then if you put them, in other places, obviously it's more of a payback period. On this side, it's probably black. If I rotate it, which I'll do. Yeah. Sometimes a little helpful if you click on something and then rotate, it'll rotate to that. So you can see, on the bottom it's black because it's shaded, so it's not worth putting. You can see the legend disappears on you sometimes, so you gotta bring that back in. So that was payback period. I can just switch to PV energy in general if I wanted to. So these are kind of some nice new options. These were actually available in the beta testing when this was still in beta testing. So these are kind of cool to see now. To have, it's new kind of information that you can get, which is always nice and helps with your solar analysis. And a lot of the questions is, your PV panels, is it worth putting them on? So this kind of makes it nice to do, and actually start to see it. I really like the payback period, which is kind of very helpful to see. It's kind of cool. So I'm going to go back to custom for a second. I just want to update this. And this you can see, it shows you when you do it. Since I was doing a full year, it shows that it's doing from the 1st to, January 1st to December 31st, sunrise to sunset. And then, basically throughout the year, you're going to get like 5 billion BTUs of solar radiation for the year. So that's a lot. And then, you can start to change this around as I was showing last time. The key thing that you want to learn, that actually you want to take away from this is, I don't know if you guys kind of know what solar radiation is or what it's about, but obviously there's two ways that spaces get heat up. One, obviously, if you have glass on a wall and the sun is hitting that, obviously it penetrates through the glass and comes in to light the space, but it also heats it up. But even if you have a solid wall, what happens is the sun will hit that wall, heat up the wall, and the heat, radiant heat passes through that wall, even if it's solid, and will start to heat the space. So that's why solar radiation tests like this are helpful, because you can see where sun's hitting the most, and then you can start to insulate, the roof here, a roof or a wall, so you can have different layers of insulation, air gaps, and it helps you come up with the kind of design that you want for your wall structure and how that's going to be. So it's helpful in that aspect. It's also helpful in the aspects of how you want to rotate your buildings if you have that option. A lot of times there's a specific orientation that people like to do, so there's minimal amount of facings, faces facing, direct sun. And then the third key thing is this helps you kind of pick what windows you want to actually be glass. Obviously, a south-facing facade is not good to have a full glass wall, because that's where the most sunlight hits. But obviously, a north-facing facade, if I rotate to the north, gets very little sunlight, direct sunlight. So a full glass window there, a full glass wall there is nice because, there's no direct sunlight. There's not a lot of direct sunlight on it. But you can see, as sometimes with your orientation of your buildings, you kind of get stuck that you have to do it anyway. So you can see, the front of your buildings may end up being on the south. So you're gonna probably want to have maybe some windows there, most likely. So that's kind of the aspect where, well, if it's I gotta put a window there, do I utilize shading devices to help protect it from the sun? Do I use like triple glazing windows with argon gas in between the panes to help with insulating so radiant heat can't pass through the glass? So there's all different methods, and this is what the solar analysis starts to help you guys do and see. And I believe that's pretty much it for this one. I'm actually going to delete that for a second. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to do user selection. So now, with user selection, I can select these faces, hit finish, and update. So now it'll run the simulation on those faces. So that's like if, as I mentioned, if you did your kiosk, it may be stolen on me. So that's if you did your kiosk, as a model in place, you'd be able to still pick the faces. I'm going to pause the video for a second so this can catch up, and I want to see if it actually goes through. It may have crashed on me, so. Okay, so I got it to go. It just crashed on me, so I just, closed the program and reopened it. That happens sometimes. It's because this is still in beta. Well, it's not in beta anymore, but it's kind of new, so sometimes it will crash on you. If that's ever the case, just close out and reopen, and it should reset that for you. But you can see, you know, I just click those faces, you know, the same way I was showing you with the user selection, and then I can run solar analysis on those faces. And then I was saying, like, you can see how this is kind of like it's like a 3D mass almost that's created. If you just click on it and it would delete it off. But obviously, you know, you probably sometimes want to just save, you know, save it so it becomes that, you know, it becomes another view. And then the last thing that I want to show is I'm actually going to insert a SketchUp file as a mass. As you know, I showed you how to do that in a previous video. So I'm going to do it fast here. But if you want to see what that was about, you can go back to that tutorial and look. I just want to show you how Revit recognizes it as a mass so you can run solar analysis on. So now that's a mass that I brought in. If I go to the Analyze tab in Solar and do all mass faces, average oscillation, and do update. Hopefully this doesn't crash again. So now you can see that it ran the solar analysis on that because Revit recognized it as a mass. So it, you know, that's right there. It even actually ran the solar analysis on the person, which is kind of weird. But obviously, you know, if you're going to do it with SketchUp, probably delete that person out. But if you rotate around, you can see, you know, the different colors. Again, the legend usually disappears on you, so just zoom out until you see it, and then you can just drag it closer to the view. You know, however close you want it to be. So that's, you know, that's that. So now, obviously, if I imported the mass this way, you know, if I didn't go into mass and Insight and I just imported it as a regular kind of model, you know, kind of just like 3D kind of shape. If I ran the mass now, so let me actually delete this out. So now if I go back to the Analyze tab and do Solar again, and I do all mass faces and then I do update, it's just going to run it for this one. It won't run it for that one because it's not going to recognize this one as a mass. If it actually goes through. It may have crashed on me again. Let me switch views, see if that helps. Actually, you know what? You can delete this. Do it on. Go to shaded. And let me hide this for now. Quickly. So now it may hopefully work. So solar. Sometimes just resetting the views is helpful. So now if I do it, yeah, so the program kind of froze on me again. So I'm going to pause it and okay. So I turn Revit on. Well, I should, you know, close the program and open it back up. So hopefully this set it again, and it should work this time. So like I said, if that ever happens, just close out the program, reopen it, and it should start to work. Sometimes it gets very finicky. Sometimes it just don't want to work at all. It's just this. I'm actually gonna stop the video and do a tutorial, another video to continue on because I'm running out of time.